The smartest people you know don't actually know more than you do. They think differently than you do. Everybody grows up believing that intelligence means stacking up facts, dates, and ready made answers. That's a lie. The real difference isn't in what they store inside their heads, it's in how they read a problem. It's in how they walk calmly through the exact situations that stress everyone else out. That's why so many highly educated people freeze up while ordinary people quietly solve things. You don't need a photographic memory. You don't need a perfect report card. You need five adjustments in the way you think, five habits that are simple to learn and that almost nobody ever figures out on their own. And the effect shows up fast. People start asking for your opinion. Problems start to weigh less. You stop feeling like your own week is running you over. You feel control coming back into your hands. Stay until the end because the last shift is the one that separates people who look calm from people who are actually calm. Before we get to the list, you need to see what's hiding underneath it. Think of the smartest person you've ever watched up close, the one who holds a crisis together without falling apart. Have you ever noticed that person is almost never the one who memorizes the most? That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern, and nobody taught you this in school. Most people treat their brain like a warehouse. The more information they pile up, the smarter they feel. But a full warehouse solves nothing when the pressure hits. In a crisis, in a surprise, in an argument, nobody asks you to name capital cities. The people who stand out treat their brain like a response filter. What matters is not what you have stored, it's what you do in the space between what happens and how you react. Intelligence is not a stockpile, it's a response, and that changes everything. Because a stockpile takes years to build, a response is something you can start training today in your very next conversation. There are five shifts, and each one dismantles a habit that sabotages you without you even noticing. Let's start with the first. Shift 1, the disarming question. Here's the scene. Someone disagrees with you in front of other people. Your face gets hot. Your instinct screams at you to fire back, to prove them wrong, to win. Don't do it. People who turn disagreement into a battle only manufacture enemies. Instead of attacking, you ask a real question, not a trap designed to humiliate. You say, completely calm, "What made you see it that way?" Or, "Tell me what you're seeing that I'm not." Now watch the scene flip. The other person drops their guard, they explain, and while they explain, they start examining their own idea. Very often they find the flaw themselves. Here's why it works. Nobody changes their mind by getting beaten up. You cannot force anyone to agree with you, but you can guide how they think it through. If they're right, you just learned something for free. If they're wrong, they notice it on their own, and you didn't spend a single drop of anger. When you stop fighting and start asking, people finally listen to you. You didn't win the argument, you made the argument unnecessary. Shift 2, drone mode. This one is for the moments when a single stumble turns into a life sentence. You bomb a test and decide you're stupid. You hear one no and decide you're not good enough. You have one bad day and feel your entire life collapsing. One bad day is not your life. It's a Tuesday. Your instinct wants to sink into that verdict. Don't sink. You send up the drone. From up there, one stumble becomes a single dot on a map, and dots form patterns. Maybe your study method is wrong. Maybe you're not sleeping enough. Maybe you never ask for help. Rejection stops being proof that you're worthless. It becomes information about what to adjust. That no from the job you wanted showed you exactly what to train for the next one. Then you ask yourself three questions. What is actually happening here? What part of this depends on me? What do I try next? Seen from a distance, the problem turns into a puzzle, and puzzles exist to be solved. People who panic see a wall. People who step back see the door. Shift 3, the control filter. This one attacks the biggest energy leak in your life, worrying about things you cannot change. What people will think of you, whether it rains tomorrow, your boss's mood, the imaginary disaster of next week. All of that worry produces exactly nothing. It just hands you back exhaustion and anxiety. The filter is a single question. Does this depend on me? If it doesn't, it leaves the table. If it does, it becomes a task. You don't control the rain, you control bringing the umbrella. You don't control other people's opinions. You control being honest and decent. You don't control whether you get the job. You control how you prepare for the interview. Do you see the move? The uncontrollable walks off the stage. Your own action steps into the scene. Think about how much real stuff you would solve with the energy you burn rehearsing catastrophes. When you cut out the rest, what's left is fuel for the things that actually move when you push. Worry doesn't protect you from anything, it just charges you in advance. If you've made it this far, pay attention. The last two shifts are the rarest ones. They're the ones that change how a whole room sees you. Shift 4, the full silence. Here's the scene. The conversation stops for 2 seconds and that empty space makes you itch. Your instinct rushes to fill it, and out comes the first nonsense that crosses your mind. Don't fill it. Let the silence work for you. Think before you speak. Listen more than you talk. Let the other person finish the entire sentence, and look at the effect. When you pause before answering, everyone leans in. Their brains assume something important is coming. When you listen without cutting in, the other person feels heard, and that is incredibly rare. Quiet people seem smarter than loud people, not because they know more, because they choose every word. The quiet one isn't lost in the conversation, they're 2 steps ahead of it. The training is simple. The next time someone asks you a question, count to 3 in silence. Only then do you answer. You'll be surprised by the quality of what comes out. Whoever speaks first fills the air. Whoever speaks last fills the room. Shift 5 is the hardest one on the list, and it's the one that transforms you the most. The one breath pause. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and the rage spikes instantly. Someone drops a nasty comment, and the sharp reply is already sitting on your tongue. A plan falls apart, and all you want to do is complain or quit. Your instinct wants to react right now. Don't react. You take one breath, just one. Inside that one breath, there is room for 2 questions. Does this deserve my energy? What response actually improves this situation? In traffic, breathing costs you 1 second. The fight costs you your entire day. The rude person might be living the worst day of their life. You can hand back poison or you can hand back something that helps. This is not weakness. It's the highest degree of control there is. The instant reaction is the fuel of every conflict. When you pause, the engine dies on its own. Whoever stays calm while everyone else boils over holds the power in the room. Whoever thinks while other people react makes better decisions every single time. Now notice something. None of this is about other people. It's about who you become. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room. You don't need to know everything. You don't need a fancy diploma hanging on the wall. You need to think differently from the majority. Ask instead of fighting. Send up the drone instead of panicking. Filter what depends on you and release the rest. Hold the silence and breathe before you answer. Here's the curious part. Most people will never do any of this. They'll keep arguing, keep worrying, and keep reacting on autopilot. And that is exactly why these 5 shifts put you ahead of 9 out of 10 people. Not through talent, through method. A method you just received for free. Picture yourself a few months from now. You see an exit where other people see a catastrophe. You stay whole while everyone else falls apart. You make better decisions because you make them thinking. And people start coming to you. They want your opinion. They want to know how you stay so calm under pressure. The ancient philosophers were already pointing at this. What defines you is not what happens to you. It's what you do with what happens. Nothing here requires being born brilliant. It requires paying attention, thinking before acting, choosing your response instead of spitting out your first reaction. That is real intelligence, and now you know how to build yours. You're no longer the one who reacts. You're the one who chooses. Before you go, let's make a deal. Pick just one shift, one. Trying all 5 at once is the exact recipe that knocks most people out in the first week. Practice that single shift for the next 7 days and watch what changes around you. And tell me down in the comments, which of these scenes happens to you the most? The argument, the worrying, or the autopilot reaction? I read the answers and they choose the topic of the next video. The next step is yours.